Hey, freaky flyers and crazy cruisers and however the hell else we would describe however the hell else you're getting around. This is Judge Mentalist with another episode of Big Sexy Digital Nomad. I am back. Not that you noticed me being gone because we pre-recorded our episode for last week, but I am back from my cruise. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about updates on Big Sexy's Blacks at 23 plans and more. Big Sexy.
What's happening? Hello, everybody. Good morning, or good afternoon, and good evening, whenever this is hitting your ear holes. Welcome to Big Sexy Digital Nomad. We got a few things to chat about. We had some things happen since the last time we recorded. Not since the last time we were in your ear. Well, since the last time we were in your ear holes too, but
there was definitely some overlap on some of that.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I'll tell you what now, I don't know if you listened to the latest ICS podcast, but the Matt Donnelly was giving Elkton Magic its flowers.
So that is what that's last Thursday's episode.
Yeah, not the latest one that dropped out, but the one before it. You know, they drop episodes so many times. I can't even keep up anymore. When they drop whatever, every other day, there's a new episode thing in the thing, whatever.
This is an odd time for them because it's the normal schedule is Monday, Thursday for new episodes. They also, because you're a Patreon, right?
Of course.
So you would have gotten
the bonus episode.
It was actually February's bonus episode, but because of Matt's tour schedule, they didn't record and drop it until March.
Stupid, yeah.
But also Paul did the rundown of Black Adam, which also came out as a bonus episode, I believe, to patrons only.
Yeah, I haven't listened to that one yet.
I haven't listened to that. So I don't have, and this is a question. Feel free to respond to listeners, and maybe you know the answer to this, Big Sexy. When I'm listening to these podcasts in my car, ICS being one of them, Penn Sunday School, anything else that I'm a patron of, I'm listening to whatever the regular feed on Spotify is, because that's what I have in my car. Right. So I have still not figured out how to link up that. Not that I care, because if my patron money gets to them and an eighth of a cent every time or whatever the little minuscule amount of money is every time an ad plays in my ear holes on Spotify, more power to it, because obviously, in my opinion, I'm not paying the Patreon to get rid of the ads. I don't give a shit, but I haven't figured out where it does come into play, though, is the bonus episodes. I don't know how to run that through an app. Like, I can listen to it on my desktop. I can go to Patreon, which is really what I do, and listen to the bonus type of episodes there. But I can't listen to them driving around in my car. In fact, I actually, before this, ran out to the bank to make some deposits from last week and to grab lunch. And in my catching up, because I do not usually stay current on my podcast listening when I am traveling, especially when I'm on a boat with shit Wi-Fi.
Right.
We'll get into that later. Maybe we will, maybe we won't, because that's certainly not a high or low point of the cruise. So it's probably the lowest point of the cruise, which says a lot. If the bad Wi-Fi is the worst thing that happened, you probably had a pretty good time. But so in catching up with ICS, I literally just got out of the car as Matt was talking about the Elkton show. So
there isn't a way to put the Patreon only episodes on Spotify. They don't ever make it there because they don't release it there. You just have to listen it through Patreon,
which is fine by me.
Yeah. I'm the same. Like I have my podcasts on my Spotify. I literally put on whatever the latest episode is and push play, listen to that, and then as I'm driving around or whatever, it'll automatically skip to the next newest episode of one of the podcasts that I listen to, which is interesting because sometimes it'll be it's fun because people have the opening music, right? You know,
Yeah.
like, oh, okay. I guess you're telling me I'm doing Penn Sunday School next, or I'm doing Hey Buddy Nice podcast next, or I guess I'm doing Us next. Which is interesting because when our opening music plays, it takes me a little bit longer to recognize that it's us. I'm trying to which podcast? Oh wait, this is me. Oh, this funky music playing right now is me. I like that, and I like that it's recognizable.
You know, you're 24 episodes in, and we've only had the music for less than half of that. I guess.
Right. Yeah.
So really,
so it works out. But it's getting in there. It's getting in there. It's getting in there.
ICS is approaching episode 1000. Penn Sunday School's been doing it for even longer because they started on one a week, and then I think they jumped to, I don't remember when, and I know that there was a Scooperty question to estimate, and I think Jacob did the math and got it right, or was close enough, because I think there might have been a range of when they switched over to 2 a week.
Right.
So they're behind in episode number, but they've been doing it longer.
Right. They're on episode 891.
Right. And Hey Buddy Nice podcast, I know that they started with, I think, slightly different music or some filler music that they grabbed from ICS. Right. But for the most part, they've had their regular music for a while now.
Right.
I love Two Characters and a Clown's opening music, despite the fact that they change it up sometimes.
Right. That always cracks me up, because one, it makes it interesting to figure out, okay, which one are we going to listen to? Or which opening song they're gonna do. And it's like, oh, cool. They do have one of my favorite, the I guess the futuristic, whatever that one is. I'm not doing a great job of describing the music, but I like it. It's that one. That's my favorite one. And it's funny because they all said hello in their musical tones, and it's lovely. It's great. If you get a chance, pop over to Two Characters and a Clown and just check out the opening music, and then turn it off. Who cares about the rest?
Yeah, fuck those
guys. Yeah. So let's. Speaking of, let's talk about your cruise. That's probably the biggest thing that's happened since we last spoke. For the recap, what cruise line, where did you go?
So this was a Carnival cruise, 7 days out of Baltimore, which is maybe 45 minutes from me. So no flights, no getting in the night before, no getting in early and hoping you get there in time or your flights don't get delayed. Just super easy.
Oh, that's nice.
Drive down the road. We actually got dropped off, roll up in, boom, you're there. So we decided to take all of that hassle out of it, which was cool. And so it was 3 different ports through the Bahamas.
Okay.
So we had 2 sea days. We were then in Nassau, Princess Cay, which is their owned private island thing, right. And then Freeport. And then we had another, we left Freeport early. Like the back on the ship was 1:00 in the afternoon. So it was basically a day and a half at sea. So we had another full sea day, and then we got in around 9:30, 10 a.m. on Sunday. So Sunday to Sunday. So it was definitely fun to do that without the hustle and bustle of trying to get somewhere, because again, getting to Baltimore, which is basically where I sit, and I may have mentioned this before, but where Elkton is literally, if you were to draw a straight line between Baltimore's airport and Philadelphia's airport, and then bisect that line, for those of you who are not into geometry or middle school math, that is cutting a line exactly in the middle of it. That's where Elkton pretty much is. So I am 45 minutes to either of those 2 airports.
Nice.
And the cruise terminal's actually a little bit closer in Baltimore than the airport is. So it may have only been about 35 minutes to get there. I don't know, because I wasn't driving. I wasn't paying attention. I also didn't really care because I knew that we were going to be there in plenty of time. I guess I'll start at the beginning, because
always a good place to start.
because it was an overlap of our conversations from the last episode. Some of the theories and explorations in I don't really care about beating around the bush with this. Smuggling alcohol onto the ship were tested out.
Successful?
Some worked better than others.
Interesting.
There were there were three things that we attempted, two of which I think I discussed on the last podcast, one of which I just kind of had a light bulb moment and said, hey, I'm going to try this. These things that are called rum runners, that are basically like these plastic bags that have a lid on them, that if you looked at the cover art for the last episode, one of those is hanging around like it's pouring into one of the pools on the ship. That did not work. That did not work in any of the two ways that we attempted to get it onto the ship. One of those ways was me just carrying a small one, which was about a 0.375 liter bag, just in my pocket, because for whatever reason, even though I had no metal on me, the metal detector went off and they patted me down. So, and I was being ballsy with trying to do that.
Right.
Whatever that, and it was just a little bit of whiskey and really at that point, I wasn't even worried about getting that onto the ship. I just wanted to see if I could just walk right the fuck through with it.
Right.
But the metal detector was going off for everybody, at least the one that I was walking through. So I'm not going to say that wouldn't work. It just didn't work this time. The other thing that I talked about was those shampoo bottles that came with the ability for you to put the security seals on them.
Right.
Those worked like a charm. Now, I will say, with some further research that we did, and I'll tell you, we just did this somewhat as an experiment because we had free drinks on the cruise. We just wanted to see what would fly and what wouldn't.
If you can get that,
and we barely drank any of the shit that we brought on because we didn't need it. We had free drinks. But again, this is travel tips, travel hacks. Not everybody necessarily travels the way that I do and wants to know about these things, and I'm happy to experiment and be a guinea pig, as I'm sure you would in a scenario like that. Those were, so here's how we packaged them. We filled them up, we put the seals on, we closed the caps, which also had one of those little things in to make sure that it's all airtight, so you don't have to worry about it leaking out. We then took a gallon Ziploc bag. We had 4 total of these bottles. We put one that was labeled shampoo and conditioner into one of the gallon Ziploc bags, and then we put a tube of toothpaste, a toothbrush, some condoms, just normal like toiletry type of things, so that all of the things that were in the bag that were in the bigger bag look like they belong there together. And then we did another set that was another, labeled shampoo and conditioner, one of each bottle, into a different bag. Again, the little details. I have no idea if anybody looked at this. I have no idea if anybody scrutinized this. I just know that it didn't have anybody pull it open and get it to the point where they flagged it. So again, sometimes the overkill doesn't take too much, but we made sure the little things we did not have, because we had 2 bottles that said shampoo and 2 bottles that said conditioner. And we made sure that they were paired off properly. We put no additional markings other than a black dot on the bottoms of the bottles so that we would know what was what in them. And then the positioning. I mean, don't get me wrong. You open something, you take a whiff of it, it's whiskey or it's not whiskey. But we did the same thing in another bag, and we put those in 2 separate suitcases. So we had one set of them in one bag, a different set of them in another bag, again, in a gallon Ziploc bag with other toiletries. That worked perfectly. Another one of those rum runners that I mentioned did not get through. That was just put into somebody else's suitcase. Again, a different suitcase than the ones that had
the bottles
in. So 3 different suitcases were carrying stuff in, 2 out of 3, and 100% of those shampoo bottle looking things were there. The other thing that we learned about them, at least according to the listing on Amazon, is that they change the label design every couple months.
Oh wow.
When you're buying them, so that it's not like, oh, now we're looking for bottles that look like this. The whoever's manufacturing these or sending these out changes that label every couple months. So if you're looking to do that, that's probably a good way to get them on. The other thing that we did that I think is absolutely 100% foolproof and should be all of the time is that I took a 12 pack of Coca-Cola and carefully opened it up, the cardboard box, took all of the soda out, and then I filled that 12 pack with 10 beers and 2 Cokes.
Yes, I saw your video.
And the 2 Cokes lined up back in the middle at the top where the holes punch in for you to put your hand in and carry them. That way, if anybody were to look in, and these are you're allowed to take a 12 pack, and every cruise line is going to have different rules. But with Carnival, you're allowed to take a 12 pack of soda on the cruise with you. And you just bring that in your carry-on, like sitting on top, and it goes through the metal detector. Nobody looked at it first and foremost. And of course we, super glued it back, the thing back. It looked like you would take it off of the shelf in the grocery store.
Right.
So we rolled in with 2 of those. It only used one, so we took one back. So that's literally just sitting now in the garage waiting for us to book the next cruise. I'm like, why even mess with it? I'll just take it again. So all of that went well. For anybody who was looking for those kind of cruise hacks or travel tips, there's some information. I did take a picture of me opening up one of those. It was something different that my wife had with twisted teas in. I shot a quick video of that. I'll probably post that on our Instagram. But yeah, I mean, same sort of setup. Just making sure that there's 2 up at the top that anybody can see, because the other 10 nobody can see.
Right.
And that's kind of the rundown on that. But like I said, we had an alcohol package that allowed us to drink for free if we were in the casino. And we didn't spend a ton of time in the casino, but again, we drink, and we drink plenty, but we're also not necessarily the type of people that always need to have a drink in our hand.
Right.
So, that was enough for us, and we could get whatever the hell we wanted in there. Like, you would have had to have ordered, like, as we dug and asked questions, we learned that there was officially a $16 cost limit on what we could get for free.
Oh,
so
at a time?
Well, per drink, yes.
Per drink. Oh, you couldn't get any drink over $16.
Correct. And you're only running into that if you are ordering like a double Woodford,
right,
or something like that, or something high end as a double. Right. But they, at least the crew that we were with, like, a lot of times when you go to, let's say, a venue or a sporting event or whatever, and they hand you a bottle or a can of beer, and this is all cans, the big pounder cans, because of, they don't want glass rolling around. They usually are required to open them for you. I guess that's not a thing on the cruise, because they just hand you the beer. Right. So we ended up, and how we kind of worked around, because there were 4 of us total. We kind of worked around the drinks other places thing by just anytime they would come around, we would order around, whether we were ready for one or not.
Just stock up.
And then and then somebody was just putting them in a bag. And then we took them back to the room, put them in the fridge, and we were good to go. And there was always a beer to be had in hand. So
that's one of the things that makes me wish I liked beer. Like, I don't like beer, so my man, beer's easy. Beer's simple. Beer comes in a can. Yeah. Beer's good. People, whatever. I can't stand beer, so it's kind of hard to do that with a bottle of vodka. Yeah, they're not bringing you in, just a random bottle. You can't order a vodka and they just bring you a bottle of vodka, which would be nice if they did. That'd be awesome, but they don't do that. Sons of bitches.
Exactly. So yeah, that went well. Spent some time in the casino.
How was this one? How did this one differ than the last one? And did you? First off, did they get their money back? That's the first question.
They did not. So the first couple nights I was up, and then the next couple of nights I ended up down, and then I slowly ended up like right around even by the time I left. So they did not They did not win on me, but I did not win on them this time. And again, that's difficult because for me to truly factor, I might be up a little bit because when we are there and we are tipping the wait staff or whatnot, because even though quote gratuities are included, if you want good service,
You
you will
still
tip,
tip.
and you tip in cash. So in the money that I brought for the casino not only was gambling money, but it included that tipping money. So I came out with the same amount of money, give or take a couple bucks that I went in with, but there was probably a couple $100 worth of tips. So I might
Cool
have been
deal.
up a little, but not a significant amount.
Nice. What else? What else did you get a chance to do on the cruise?
So on the cruise, we went to comedy show one night. We ended up, because of some of the gambling, getting comped, the four of us, at the fine dining steakhouse 2 separate nights. And that was cool. There was a Carnival does not, from my observation, and I don't know too much. I only know what I know and what I've researched, but I have not seen the indication that they tend to bring in big stage magicians. Some cruise lines definitely do. I know guys that and gals that do cruise ships for like celebrity cruises and princess cruises and stuff like that. And I think Norwegian and definitely some Disney Cruise Line people. But they have the job title that they have with the magician that's on board, at least for the 2 cruises that I've been on. And I can't find any indication on their website that they're hiring for anything else. Is somebody called, their title for it is table artist. And what that is somebody whose primary job is to walk around the ship and mainly the formal dining room while people are eating dinner, going table to table, doing close-up work for them. They On the first cruise that I went on, which again was only the 5-day cruise, also with Carnival, there was no stage show whatsoever.
No,
On
well,
this one,
there's no production.
for magician,
Oh, for magicians.
for a
Okay.
magician. On this one, and the difference may have been the performer's desire. I don't know. It may have just been the fact that it was a 7-day cruise. But on that last sea day, and this was at like 12 o'clock or 12:30 in the afternoon, which seemed to be kind of an odd time for a show. But there were substantial people in the
Oh yeah.
auditorium.
What
So
else you gonna do?
exactly. The strolling magician, the quote table artist, did a 30-minute stage show.
Nice.
Um,
Yeah, that's the way I've seen it on the different cruises I've been on, where there's been a magician. Is they will, uh, well, like Carnival and Princess, like they had a magician who did the bouncing around, and then they had a show in the smaller theater, um, one night or 2 nights. They did that. In Virgin, it was interesting. So their magician, I think, also kind of went around doing magic, but he had a secret show. Like,
ah,
well, if you went to one of his shows, you may have got invited. Some people got invited to a secret show that like happened down in the belly of the ship, like in a work area, like
interesting.
the crew bar. He did a thing down there. You got escorted down. He did the magic, and then
What line was
uh,
that on?
Virgin Voyages.
Okay.
Yeah, and then
See, that's what I'm trying
afterwards,
to do with something like that with Billy.
yeah. It was great. It was wonderful. And then he took us up. Then we all, if you followed him on Instagram, of course, because again, you want to build social media. I admire the hustle. He did another um, show at the Bimini Beach Club. So one of our ports was Bimini Beach Club, and so he said, "Meet me here at this time." He put that up on his Instagram, and then he did
Ah,
another small close-up magic for this group of folks. One last trick, which
okay,
was
cool.
really, really, really cool. And of
Now I
course,
know how to do it. I
yeah,
didn't
of
put
course,
this together, but I kept thinking because it was this little stage in the corner of a lounge that was right outside of the formal dining room that during the day was rarely ever being used. Like they'd have musicians, like there was either three people using stringed instruments, and I'm just going to say that they were violin-ish. There might have been a viola. Who knows?
Right.
I'm not an expert on that. There were times in which there was somebody with a steel
cheese
drum.
trio.
Yes. But during the day, there was nothing there. And I was just like, how do I finagle this to, how do I let people know that would be interested in doing this, that I'm just going to go set up at 11 o'clock one day at this little thing and say, come meet me here. So now I know if I do stuff on a cruise in the future and want to set something like that up and there's a place and a time that makes sense, to just let people know, hey, follow me on Instagram. I'm not great at building my social media.
Right.
I'm good at other things, but not necessarily building my social media. But this is a good idea. And then just let people know, follow me on social media and pay attention to it, because I will be making an announcement of when and where later in the week. That's a pretty good idea.
Well, let me know if you need a virtual assistant to help you with your social media. I'm currently talking to a friend of mine that's just getting into that business. Shout out to Jenny Fidelino, who is looking to start and build her virtual assistant business, and part of that is to help with social media. I was talking to you about that, about
yeah
on our website or whatever.
See if she'll give us a 3-for-1 deal. Like, I'm not trying to get it for free, because I don't like to play that. Well, you'll get exposure, but you've got social media, I've got social media, and then we as Digital Nomad have social media. So maybe we can work out some sort of get to work on all this sort of thing.
Absolutely.
I will tell you, a platform that is easy if you've got digestible content that fits a niche to build on seems to be TikTok.
I mean, yes. Yay.
I don't know how to leverage that into any sort of value, but I have recently, and this has probably been about a month now, and I know that you've seen this because you follow it. Anytime that I am in a casino and get a bonus feature on a slot machine, I have now started recording them.
Right. I've noticed that.
And I have been,
is this really? Yeah, that's his voice. Yeah, that
it is me. Now I'm separating that is an account, if you happen to for some reason be interested in it, called Psychic Slots. So it's not really connected to any of the magic stuff, because I don't generally do, most of the magic that I do is mental magic. So it involves an actual personal and person engagement. So this idea of, like, a lot of guys can do or have a repertoire of close-up magic where it's kind of look what I can do sort of stuff, which is good for TikTok. I don't really do or want to do any of that kind of stuff. And I'm not interested in doing something that to build myself up, and promote myself in my shows, so to speak, and everything that I'm doing, only to not do any of that stuff. You know what I mean? Like when for Elkton Magic, when I am scouting people, a lot of times where I will see them first is going to be Full Us or EGT or Masters of Illusion. So if I'm reaching out to you and you've got an arsenal of stuff that you've done on those shows, I'm expecting to see some of that. And my audience is very well expecting to see at least that flavor of material when you're here. So, like Matt, when he's been here, has not specifically done that weight trick that he did on Fool Us, but the flavor, the feel, the
still
comedy,
the Mind Noodler.
Right, the feeling of it, the funness of it, that the theme, the brand stayed on point. So, there was
watch out, man. Don's about to become the #1 Elkton magic magician.
Completely crushes it every time he comes here. And again, Elkton. I don't know when we do this July run. It is probably not going to include a show in Elkton, but a town close by, maybe about 20 minutes away, has a casino, and I have been put in touch with them about booking magicians there. Now, they don't have a big theater. It's a platform that's in a restaurant, but they want to do ticketed events like Right now they want to do them quarterly. My hope is that increases to once a month at some point in time. But my suggestion for them, because I talked to the people, they're down with it. They had me go through this process of submitting for vendor application, and that recently got approved. And I sent the guy that's trying to set this up locally a bunch of different acts. And I said, ideally, what you really want to do is you want to wait, because they were telling me they want to maybe do this in June. I said, really, you should wait until the end of July when the Mind Noodler is back in town. If you want to kick out the jams and get this thing started right, let's book it so that it comes in line with when he's going to be in town. And so my hope is,
Smart.
Yeah, and I'm having another call later this week. So there's probably sometime between, if you're on the East Coast, if you're anywhere between driving distance or however you'd want to get here from Washington, D.C. up through, let's say, Philly or north of Philly, block off or at least earmark your calendar for July 20th through the 30th. Some of those dates are solidified. Some of them are still up in the air. But that is the time frame that you might want to be in this area. The weather is usually pretty good this time of year. So if you're looking to travel, if you're looking to see or visit people that are in Philly or Baltimore or DC or any of the parts along that corridor.
If I was still going to be in the U.S., I'd be there.
That is a set run. We've got stuff, and I think I mentioned this before, but we're working on some stuff at the end of June up in New England, and then we might be doing some September stuff out in the Midwest, including a show in Nebraska. Still working on solidifying all of that, so that's all coming together. That's cool. But I will say, and I'm going to be very I'm going to be more selective with my language about this than I was about smuggling alcohol onto a ship. And I've got two statements to be made, and I'm going to make them in a specific order.
Okay. That's usually how that happens.
Well, no, sometimes you just blurt shit out. But there's a reason that I'm selecting the order, because I don't want to make it look like this is an ego thing that I'm about to say. So I'm going to start with I am not performance-wise where I ultimately want to be. And my goal in this is to never be where I ultimately want to be, because I believe that you should always be aiming to sharpen the saw, get a little better, level up wherever you can.
Right.
The best can still get better, or at least they should have that mentality, because otherwise you're just getting stale. I am actively working with a number of different consultants and mentors to improve stage performance. You had mentioned improv classes.
I definitely have, and I definitely will again. I will keep saying that.
There will be. I am not only am I looking for those, but we are potentially booking some of those for Matt, not for me. I won't be teaching improv classes. I'll just be benefiting from them being there. Some of the places that we are booking shows for Matt are improv theaters or theaters that have some improv. So the conversation, none of this has been solidified yet, but it's in the works that there may be some improv classes during the day where there are in the same place where there are going to be performances in the evening. Now, as this stuff solidifies, because we're talking about June and July, and yes, both of those months just tongue-tied together, and September. So as this stuff starts to get set in stone and solidified, some of them have, some of them haven't, and I think that both of us are waiting to kind of drop this stuff as here's what this week looks like, and not have stuff get filled in the gaps. We want to make an announcement when, hey, here's June, boom. Hey, here's July. Boom.
There's a lock. Here's go. Here's the month. Bam. Here's the dates.
Some of yes, like the linchpin dates, especially for July. July is very close to being solidified all the way through. There's a couple of dates that it still have loose ends on, and a couple that I'm still trying to fill in. But there's going to be some improv classes in some of those in some of those spots. So that'll be cool. I'll get to sit in on those and be involved there, because anytime I can level myself up, I'm trying to. I get motivated when I see bad magic. When I see people who are standing somewhere that I would like to be standing. Let's say, for example, a cruise ship that maybe I was just on. And when people who I'm there with, who have been ball busting with me all weekend,
right,
or all week, i.e., they have no reason, desire, or angle for which they have a need to pay me a compliment, turn to me and say, "You're a lot better than this guy." It motivates me
good.
to put it all together and say, okay, I can be there. I need to be there. I should be there.
Should be there.
And again, the most difficult thing for me, specifically when it comes to the cruise ship gig, is that they normally want you for a run of X months, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, whatever it is. I can't do that. I run shit here. Like, I can give you a week. I can give you 5 weeks spread out through the years, maybe more. I am happy to engage to the point where you've got me on a list. And when some shit goes down, somebody gets sick, somebody gets deported, somebody, for whatever, somebody says fuck off and quits or whatever, call me up and say, hey, can we get you down to Baltimore to ship out tomorrow for a week? Or can we fly you into so-and-so to go for a week? I'm happy to be the on-call guy. I'm not going to be able to say yes all the time. I'd like to, but I mean, I can give a handful of weeks throughout the year. It just does not seem to be, I mean, I have not applied. I have not tried. And I now know some people who could connect to me in there. So I'm going to start this conversation, but I and see where I can get to, but I'd love to be able to line up more stuff like what might happen with Billy from Cruise Habit, who, let me tell you this, I'm going to jump this back.
We'll put a pin in it. We'll come back to it later.
We're going to come back to this because I just got to say, and I said it before without testing any of this, but the shit that's on that website, cruisehabit.com, Billy was our guest for what, episode 20 or 21, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Gold, pure gold. One of the things that we did,
they know their shit.
One of the things that we did, which I would never have known about had we not had him on here, had we not, talked to him, had I not gone through his website, is the spa raffle on the first day. And they talked about the ability, a lot of people don't show up for it. They give away free credits for the spa, this, that, and the other. That is everything that he said it was. But also, and I don't know if this is for every cruise line, I don't know if it's for every cruise, but at least on this cruise line and this particular cruise, when you were at the spa raffle, they had what they called a manager special that was, the normal price on this would be $300. If you book it now and you have the service within the next 2 days, it's only $150. And they took what would have been a 50-minute service and bumped it up to 75 minutes. So I didn't win the spa raffle. Nobody I was with won the spa raffle, but just that alone was tremendous value and worth showing up for. Then my wife decided midway through, she's like, so we booked one and it was great. And my wife was like, hey, can we go and do another massage? I'm like, yeah, why not? So we go down there, and when they looked us up, they realized that, hey, you guys booked on the manager special when you were here the first day. They gave us the same damn price for the same damn service later in the week. So it just so basically we got two couples massages for the price of one, probably a little bit less because they bumped up that time on it.
Right.
And all because of, that guidance from getting from cruisehabit.com. So if you are not linked up with that, if you don't have that website bookmarked, we're not being paid to say this. I'm just giving you feedback.
But I love them.
Great stuff. They've got great content. They've got literally a breakdown for every different cruise line. So, and I have not explored all of that stuff because I haven't, I looked through the Carnival stuff because I was going on Carnival. But they have all sorts of information on specific cruise lines.
We use them heavily. We're going to be using them heavily for our Virgin Voyages trip in April.
So my hope is, and this is something that we've chatted with him about online or offline, is I'd really love, and maybe I'm negotiating against myself here a little bit, but I like to think of it as betting on myself. I want to get lined up to do magic for his guests because Cruise Habit books these group cruises, and I don't care. I just want to do it. Like I would literally do it on the
Yeah.
premise of, hey, if this is great, then hire me to do the next one and keep hiring me to do these, because then I get my cake and I eat it too, because it gives me
cake is delicious.
because then I'm not, he's doing a cruise. He does like what, 3 or 4 a year?
Mm-hmm.
Boom, done. Like that is what I'm looking for. So if I get hired by somebody like that, they're only doing the thing 4 times a year.
Right.
I get to do what I want on a schedule that I want. The only thing is that it needs to be official, because I have stuff that I need to get onto that ship for my routines that won't get on that ship as a normal person. And I'm specifically thinking about my staple guns for a staple gun routine that I do that everybody loves. So I can't not do it.
Right.
But yeah, so, if you're listening to this, Billy, you've got my information. I'm sure we'll follow up before this even drops. I want to do that week you guys have down in December. And I mean, that could be a trial run for trying to work something out more long-term for you guys, because that'd be great. But awesome. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, so to transition, speaking of the cruises and Virgin Voyages, Black Ship 2023 is taking not a turn. Some adjustments are being made as we begin getting closer to the road trip part of the journey. We're coming to the realization that we might not do a road trip.
Okay.
We might fly. And so the idea
it's the selling the cars thing, isn't it?
The idea was we were going to sell the Lexus and take the Kia across country. Now the Kia has over 200,000 miles on it, and it's a 2011. So the thought behind driving a 2011 Kia Sportage that already has 205,000 miles or whatever on it cross country and nothing happening to it is less likely than it breaking down in the middle of nowhere, Colorado, and then having to put more money just to get back to a regular basis. Instead, what we're looking at doing is selling both cars. And then we thought about renting a car and driving cross country, but renting a car is expensive. Like car rentals just gotten out of control and stupid. But so we could take the money that we get from selling the cars and ship whatever we don't need in between now and then to Florida and just pick it up when we get there. And then we still do our hops, or at least a few of the hops, and we'll head to Vegas, and then we'll fly over to Denver, stay a couple nights in Denver, and then we'll fly probably to the Midwest and hang out in the Midwest, and then fly to North Carolina, and then rent a car in North Carolina just for the North Carolina to Florida part of the travel. The thing about that is it really truncates that schedule down, because if you're not burning 12 and a half hours on the road, if you're going from Vegas to Denver, and instead of 12 and a half hours it takes you 3, you're able to do more stuff. And then if you leave Denver and let's say you just go straight to North Carolina, so we're looking at we're rearranging those kind of options. We can start booking those kind of flights. And so and again, we just pay extra for the luggage, right? We just have big bags. We just pay extra for the luggage. Even the extra that you're going to pay for the
one-time fee
isn't going to be as much as it would to rent a car.
It's not even going to be the tax on fucking renting a car.
Right, exactly. So that looks like what we're doing. I'm still. So now we got to relook at the calendar and figure out those dates and things like that nature. No matter what, the deadlines that we have are April 22nd. We're getting on a boat. We have to we'll make everything else work from here to there. But we're really excited about it. And again, like I tell folks, this is fluid. We have ideas, and then later down the road, other things tend to make sense. And we're figuring it out. So yeah, we're getting ready to make those changes, and it's interesting because now I'm thinking, okay, so now we gotta get the car sold, right? And do I sell them here in California? Do I sell them in Vegas? It's easier in California. We took them into the dealership to get to see what they would offer. We did a Kelley Blue Book offer. They send that information to dealerships. They call you. We went in. The cool thing about that is they gave us a free Carfax. So I had that information for both cars.
Oh, cool.
And then they gave us an offer, and which gives me a very solid baseline of I'm not dropping any price below this amount.
Right.
And I'm probably going to raise it up a bunch when I offer it on the private market.
Which is typical. That's not unreasonable.
That's what I have doing. So if any listeners need a car, I want to buy a car, let me know, and we'll figure it out. But yeah, those are the plans.
Cool. Yeah. So that's that's not that much of a change. Some adjustments.
Just some minor adjustments. Just minor adjustments to time, minor adjustments to who we seeing, where we're going. Are we skipping the family in the Midwest? Because, wife is always tempted to just skip the family. And how long we stay in places. That speaking of which, to bring back the Vegas trip, I said, we should talk about maybe we extend and leave a little bit later. I said, no. We have to go to Vegas the weekend we're going to Vegas. I got people coming into Vegas when we're going to Vegas.
That's right.
And I got things planned and things happening at that time with folks who are traveling a nice long distance. Not necessarily for me, but we got plans.
But it's lined up.
But
it's working out.
So
now some of these people that you're talking about are going to be there longer than I am. So
right. And we're actually talking about maybe we'll stay in Vegas for 2 weeks and then bump everything back up a little bit. Because again, it's Vegas. We have friends. We got places to stay. We can do that kind of shit.
That's
exciting.
Cool. Yeah.
So when's your next cruise?
We haven't booked one yet. It's potentially, I would say that I probably, it's a tough question. I'd like to think that if we can make stuff work out with that December show,
it'll be December.
Or the December cruise that Billy's doing out of Miami, that won't be the next one. But then I just ran through that would-be tour schedule, and I can't imagine where I'm fitting in another week off.
Right.
Because I'm going to have what's going to be close to a week at the end of June up in New England. I'm going to have the week, which I'll be local-ish. Like I'll probably sleep in my own bed most of the nights of, maybe not the DC night, but most of the nights of that stretch, I'll probably sleep in my own bed.
Right.
But it's still going to be, my mind is going to be elsewhere. So I'm not going to be really in the office for any of that at the end of July. April's shot because I'm going to be in Vegas twice, the end of March into early April for what we were just talking about, the last week of April for another masterclass with Jeff McBride and his crew, who have been incredibly instrumental in helping me level up the act and continue to do so.
Awesome.
So April's basically shot. May is got some more room, but I don't think that again, jamming a cruise in there probably doesn't make sense. Who knows? Again, June, July, August is Magic Live. So I'll be back in Vegas for a week in August. September, I already talked about us probably doing some stuff in the Midwest.
It's funny how that, time is stupid. time.
Because ultimately, my game plan with this, because I'm just now really with this stuff with Matt getting deep into learning the ins and outs of booking these medium-sized venues. So, it's a totally different level if you're booking, large theaters, 2,000 people, stuff like that. But in that, like anywhere between 100, sometimes even smaller, up to like 300-400, like his Red Bank show. The game plan, and I've had a great deal of success with this so far, is we find one place in one day on the map, boom, and then we just blow it up and say,
Build
okay,
around
what's
Smart.
what's 2 to 3 hours from here that we can attack and make sense, because we don't want them on top of each other. We don't want them too close to each other, because
you mean the shows? Yeah,
the shows. We don't want the audiences overlapping. You know what I mean? Like the fact that we're probably doing this casino show in Perryville in the July run means that we won't do a show in Elkton in that same run, because they're 20 minutes apart. Right. Now, granted, we could get away with it because it's going to be 2 totally different audiences. I will do absolutely jack shit other than mention it in a format like this, and Matt mentioning it where he normally mentions it, to promote the casino show, because they want to push it out to their VIPs and their gamblers to get them to come back in. That type of scenario is going to be a total almost hands off, other than me putting it on my website and mentioning it here
on your podcast
and any other podcast that I might be a guest on. I was a guest on a podcast this past week, last week, actually, from this perspective.
Hey buddy, nice podcast.
so if you haven't listened to them yet, there's 2 episodes, 52 and 53, that I'm on, because I was just like, hey, I see you have episode 52 coming up. And we had talked about me being on their show before. Right. And I said, can I have 52? They're like, why? Like, there's 52 cards and a deck of playing cards. Let's take it. Once it's gone, it's mine, and nobody else can have it. And then we recorded, and they're like, hey, you got time to stick around for another one? I'm like, hey, why not? So
sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of which, I'm actually seeing our good buddy and pal Matt Donnelly tomorrow. He's performing at the Magic Castle. This week. Yeah, and I'm nice. I got him. I asked him for an invitation, and so me and the wife are gonna go to. I've never been. I've always wanted to go. It's one of those things that you hear about, but you got to know somebody to get in.
Yeah.
And when Matt was doing the match, like, oh man, I wish. I was in California, but at the time I was in Vegas, and like getting all the way out to LA for a show was like, that's not a thing. But now that I'm here, yeah, I'm like, yes, yeah, please. Oh, let me know how to go. And so, yeah, he's going to go check it out. And I'm going to get fancy, sir.
You have to.
I got an all cream color suit, like a 3-piece suit, that I've been finding some reason to wear. And I went, oh, this is it. This is the time to break out the. Matter of fact, I'm going to do that today. I'm going to pull the suit out of the suitcase it's in right now, steam it, make sure it's good to go, figure out what shirt, what tie I'm going to wear with it. I'm probably going to do just so people know how fly I'm going to look, I'm going to have a purple tie, and I think I'm going to wear my purple Doc Martens to go with the cream color suit. I don't have, what I'm mad about is I don't have, I couldn't find a hat. I want to get a white hat to go with it. I mean, it's going to be crazy pimpish, but, or a purple hat would be bomb. I don't have either one, so I'll just be sans headpiece. But I definitely have the white suit with the purple tie and the purple shoes, and I'm going to rock that tomorrow at the Magic Castle.
Nice.
So I'm really looking forward to that. So next week I'll have a report on how that show went, and things of that nature. And then, I realized that it's March.
It is.
And we're leaving California March 30th, which means it's like less than a week, less than a month. We're down to very few weeks. And I'm starting to feel that time crunch. But the beautiful thing is, this is the week when I get to put in my 2-week notice to the
Oh yeah.
complaints department. I'm so excited. So excited. I went out with some friends last night we ended up at Lucille's. We're trying to go to a place called The District by GS. But there was a live band and it was a loud place and it was, weekend. So it was kind of packed and I want to be able to talk and chat with my friends or whatever. So we ended up moving it to going up to Lucille's, having some delicious barbecue and shitty service. I'm really upset at Lucille's for the way the service was, but the food was always delicious. Food was amazing. But I was talking to them about the upcoming plans and the changes and the things that are going off, and it was really good to connect with folks. And then that's when the time frame started hitting me, like, oh, we want to do this again, but we're running out of days to do this again. So the time is crunching, but things are moving and things are starting to move swiftly here. Plans are getting solidified. Tickets are being purchased. So stay tuned, listeners, as we go into, as we lock in things. I will be updating our fans, our fellow nomadians, or whatever we're calling you guys, with the plans. And I'm looking forward to having a segment on the show, of course, is Where is Big Sexy? That's what I'm really looking forward to.
It's coming soon.
That it really is. It really is. And so that's going to be a lot of fun.
Speaking of other segments, we would love two things from you. Number one, those audio postcards. You can send those in either at bigsexynomad.com. There's the thing to send us a voice message. You just go to prankcall.me. That jumps you right there. I've got one of those that we're not going to get to today because of time, but we'll do it hopefully next time. We'd love to have more of those. Also, either send us wrong answers only questions or give us your feedback and tell us that you hated it. I thought it was kind of fun. I think you enjoyed it. But that's our perspective, not necessarily yours. If you want more of it, send some. Let us do the work. You just come up with some questions that you want us to answer wrong. They don't have to be easy layups for inappropriate responses like last week's. That we'll come up with it.
Right. Give me a hard layup for an inappropriate response.
Exactly. Let us do the work. So, yeah. Other than that, check us out on social media. Where can we find you?
Check me out at Who Is Big Sexy on all the social medias. Yeah, I'm gonna start. I have apparently start cultivating my social media a little bit more. I do a little bit here and there, but I'm really start building that up as things move forward. So check out that's me personally at Who Is Big Sexy. And you, sir?
You could find me at Psychic-ish everywhere except for Instagram, or not Instagram. I mean, except for what the fuck was the one that I was just talking
Facebook,
about?
TikTok.
Yes, TikTok. TikTok is not magic related. You can consider that to be not me. That is
psychic slots.
That is psychic slots, but
not psychic sluts, which is a whole different genre.
They know where your money is and how to get it.
Yes.
Different job.
To put it.
Yeah, if you're a degenerate or somebody who wants to see stupid slot shit, and this weekend it started getting filled with my wife and my sister-in-law because, I knew this before, but people want to look at women, so there was a much greater response when the videos start with one of them in it. So
yeah, that happens.
So yeah,
check that out. It's fun. It's amazing how addictive watching slot machine bonuses go, even if you have no invested stake in the outcome.
There are winners, there are losers, there are just it's just whatever.
Yeah.
I started feeding in some of those cruise tips, like you'll hear me talking about going to the raffle for the spa and the benefits of that and the discount, without the follow-up of, I didn't do a second video after we went back and got the discount again, which was kind of cool. So,
by the way, before we go, and I'm sorry we're doing this so late in the episode, we put a pin in something you didn't get back to. You had 2 points that you were going to make about.
Well, the one pin was I'm gonna sing Billy's praises before saying that I want to go and do that cruise, even if I have to do the first one for nothing. To
gotcha.
prove
Okay. Now
that one we did come back to. I don't know.
There was a picture of you doing magic on the cruise.
Yes.
So which is where I thought you were going to.
No, that was on the Instagram. So I decided, so if you've never been on a cruise, one of the things that they love to do is take your pictures so they could sell you those pictures. And we actually decided to do a photo session. So usually you can get those done. They don't cost you anything to have the photos taken. You just pay money for what you want. And somebody was like, why aren't you doing magic in this? So I ran to the gift shop. Excuse me, cough buttons coming by episode 80. Grabbed a deck of cards real quick, started doing stuff. And I'm like, you know what? This would be fun. I'm just going to start approaching people to see if they want me to do magic for them in the photo area so that you can get a photo of you, having magic done for you.
Right.
And the person that's in that photo, which is on my Instagram, is actually the casino host.
Right.
For Carnival Cruise Lines.
Right.
She happened to be walking by.
Talk about burying the lead.
She got to know me through my degenerate gambling, some of which you saw. Let's put it this way. I got 2 nights at the steakhouse for 4 people comped. We ran up a lot of points, and they like me very much. I definitely, I haven't booked the next cruise, but if it's on Carnival, it won't cost me anything other than the taxes and fees. So I was like, hey, can I do something for you? And we'll get a picture of it. And that is a pure actual reaction from her, from something that I did. Next time I was in the casino, she's like, they need to hire you. I'm like, well, talk to somebody for me.
Right.
And I literally feel like I just need to be like, get in touch with the person and be like, look, I can go do walk around magic for you. You want my resume? Here, this is your casino host.
Or they can port you in the production company, whoever they hire it.
Yeah, however you want to make it happen. And I said, look, and I haven't had this conversation, but I'd be willing to say, listen, whatever you want to pay me is fine. Just understand that I'm going to be strolling around this little area where they're taking pictures. I want X amount of dollars every time a picture that has me doing magic for somebody in it purchased by them. Because who wouldn't want that picture with that reaction? So, you want to give me $1 every time, $2 every time one of those photos is taken, I will go around there. Because what better way to draw people in and get them to get their pictures taken than, hey, I'm going to do a magic trick for you. We're going to do it over here.
Yeah.
That way we can get your reaction on picture, on photo. Hell, maybe they got to get a videographer there. They can start selling videos. They can sell those videos for far more than they can sell a photo for, right?
Right. Absolutely.
So
stand by, folks. The host of Big Sexy Digital Nomad coming to a cruise ship near you individually. One with an improv show and the other with some magic. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, check us out at Big Sexy Nomad on all the things. And we thank y'all for tuning in and listening.
Absolutely. Tell a friend.
Safe travels.